You'll hear over the next several weeks is that the current owners of Missoula's water system have already taken deliberate steps to try to sell it. Sell it to a foreign corporation, even while this court presides over the very question of whether the city has a right to acquire it.
Your Honor, if it was the only thing you had to consider was that, the city, you do a good job, you have competent people, the city ought to be able to run this. Sure, there's 120 some Montana cities that still have their water systems. Those cities aren't on trial. They're not. It's the property. That's what it's an issue. But just because somebody wants something, someone thinks they'd be able to do a better job, a citizen thinks that they would rather have the water system owned by someone else, an expert, without having any knowledge whatsoever of Mountain Water Company system, thinks, then that's what you're going to hear in much of the proof. But in this case, Your Honor, we're going to show, our proof will show that it's not more necessary.
This is Mr. Dove writing in general terms about the merits of Carlisle's ownership in Mountain Water, about being great partners to the city, but ultimately he says, while Carlisle Infrastructure has not indicated an interest in selling Mountain Water, we will honor our commitment under the letter agreement and will consider any offer in good faith.
I'd like to spend just a minute or two on the employees. What is your position? You sit here today with respect to whether or not the city of Missoula will terminate the employment of current employees or reduce their salaries or benefits. What is your position?
We do not want to terminate employees, nor do we want to reduce their salaries or benefits. And in fact, I've tried my best to convey over and over again that we think the employees of Mountain Water, the folks who are doing the daily work, are doing a fine job.
As you sit here today, under oath, representative of the city, are you prepared to assure the court that if you acquire the water system, current employees that serve that water system will be able to be employed by the city at their current levels of income?
Yes, sir.
And how long are you willing to guarantee?
5 years, and that's the minimum.
And with respect to the top one or two people?
1 year.
Current salaries?
Yes.
And would it be your hope and expectation to continue to employ them thereafter?
Well, let's cut out the negotiation part. Can you commit today to make them whole without negotiation?
Yes, I can commit to make them whole.
And that includes the COLA escalator.
It includes, well, I will commit to making them whole for 5 years.
Not beyond.
That's what I've committed to all along.
Your
A
previous,
minimum of 5 years.
your previous stipulation didn't mention the COLA. And that's why I'm focusing on that right now.
I will stipulate to it today.
For 5 years or for the entirety of each person's,
5 years.
but not beyond 5
A
years?
minimum of 5 years.
Okay, so I've heard 5 years and a minimum of 5 years. My question is, what if John Doe works there 10 or 15 years till retirement? Will you commit to the COLA until the person's normal retirement age, or they move on of their own choice?
Today I can't do that, no sir.
The same be true of the merit raise system. You cannot commit to that today.
Correct.
And you commit as to the retirement to make them whole, which would include merit, credit for years of service against PERS retirement.
Provided that I can do that under Montana law, yes.
And if you can't, would you pay them that in cash that they could put in their own IRA or retirement?
What we said is we would figure out another way to make them whole.
Beyond 5 years to the end of their term, or is this another 5 year deal?
4 or 5 year minimum.
But when you say it's for a 5 year minimum, but you won't go beyond 5 years, so it's really just 5 years, isn't it?
Well, it allows me to make some choices along the way. There may be another mayor by that time, Mr. Zapp.
That doesn't make my folks whole, and that's why I'm asking. So this part of it that we're focusing on right now, the retirement, credit for years of service against PERS giving it cash. You cannot commit to that beyond 5 years, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, if you're going to make them whole, you don't have to negotiate. Just say you'll make them whole to the remainder of their term. There's nothing to negotiate there, is there?
I think there is.
You would want concessions from them, lower pay, fewer benefits, fewer numbers?
I would want to be able to have a conversation about what their benefits are and what we can offer under the law.
I'm troubled by your term negotiate. If you're going to make them whole, all you have to say is, I'll match their wages, their benefits, the pay matrix structure for the remainder of their terms.
What we have said is that we will match their pay and benefits to the best of our ability for 5 years. And in a case where we can't figure that out, we'll present it to a judge, and get some help.
I'm troubled by a couple of words there, and that was the problem with your stipulation. To the best of our ability, to 5 years. You recall the two interrogatories I asked. One of them, will the city commit to retain all employees? That's a yes or a no, and the answer you recall, because we covered this in your deposition, was that stipulation, correct? Pretty simple question, isn't it? Will the city commit to retain all employees? Yes. And no 12 months to 5 years things, just keep them only discharged for cause, no reductions in force, no transfers to the dog kennel department, the rest of it?
Not what we've offered.